Welcome to Chisholm Trail 61. Today we're going to be doing a pressure canning video. I told y'all if y'all watched my video on tools needed for canning, that one of my favorite books was this book right here, the Amish Canning Book by Georgia Verosa. And recipe that we're going to do today comes out of this book on page 197. If you got the book, you can follow along. But it's called, I'll try to get it up here where you can see, South of the Border Chicken Soup. And I've done this recipe several times, and it's one of my family's favorite wintertime soups. It's really good, but we're going to get right into it here. I'm just going to go right down the list in the book so y'all can follow along if you have the book. First thing we're going to do in a big stock pot, we're going to put in 1.5 cups of carrots, and I just got them chopped up. We got 2 cups of celery, and you can see I just got it rough cut too. We got, if I can get it up here without spilling it, what we have here, and the recipe calls for 6 cups of tomatoes and 4 to 6 jalapeños. The tomatoes diced. I just used the diced tomatoes with the green chilies in them, and I do about 6.5 cups, to make up for the peppers, so I get the same ingredient ratio. But we're just gonna dump that in. That's juice and everything. They're not drained. That's just straight out of the can. That's so. Into that, we got 2 cans of kidney beans. Now they are drained and washed. I'm gonna put those in. We got 12 cups of chicken broth. There we go, chicken broth. Showing you the wrong side there, wasn't I? But 12 cups of chicken broth we're gonna put in here. Yeah, this quart size thing of chicken broth, so we're gonna put 3 of them in because there's 4 cups to each one of them. Like I said, I've made this recipe several times, and I can it, put it on my shelf so we can have it, to eat whenever we want some soup. And believe me, it never lasts. This recipe makes 7 quarts or 14 pints. I do it in the quart because the soup is good. I mean, there ain't no sense filling with a pint of it because we can go through 7 quarts in just a little bit. I said in my tools for canning video that this book was one of my favorite and one of the most accurate books that I've ever seen when it comes to, doing the recipe. It tells you to make 7 quarts. Usually it makes 7 quarts. We got 1 tablespoon of kosher salt. Now when you're canning, you don't want to use iodized salt. You want to use like sea salt, kosher salt, canning salt. Salt is not iodized. We're going to put in 1 teaspoon of cumin. And it calls for 3 cloves of minced garlic. Yeah, personally, I just used a bottle minced garlic here. So, 1 teaspoon a half teaspoon is about a clove. So I'm gonna put in 1.5 teaspoons, and that'll give me my 3 cloves of garlic. And what we're going to do, we're just going to put this on the burner over here. We're going to bring it up to a boil, and we're going to let it simmer for about 5 minutes. And then we'll bring you back and show you the next step. Okay, what we have here, we got 3 boneless, skinless chicken breasts that we cooked and just cut up, and just diced it up more or less is what we got here. And we're going to add this to our pot over there. Okay, now all we're going to do, like I said, just add our chicken to our pot there. And the recipe says just let it continue simmering until the chicken gets hot. We're going to let it simmer for about 5 minutes because I actually did my prep yesterday evening. And this is the next morning when I'm actually doing my canning. So I'm going to let it continue to simmer here for about 5 minutes. I give it a good stir there. And I'm just going to let it continue to simmer about 5 minutes. Let that chicken get good and hot. And then at that point, we'll be ready to put it in some jars and do our canning. So we'll bring you back at that point. Okay, what we're going to do now, we got our soup off of the stove there. We let it simmer for about 5 minutes. We got it good and hot. Our chicken's had time to heat up real good in there. And so we're ready to put it in jars. Now I keep my jars over in the sink in hot water to keep them hot. We got hot food here. We want hot jars to go in. We got a canner turned on back there, so the water in it's going to be hot too. Now, when you're doing soup and canning, you typically, best thing is to do your jar about half full of solid product. You want it about halfway full of solid product, and then you want to fill it the rest of the way with liquid. That gives you the solid liquid ratio, that is best for canning. And 2, it'll give you what you need to, like when you mix your crackers or cornbread, whatever you use with it. I like to eat soup with cornbread, but if you like crackers, you can eat it with that. We're leaving 1-inch head space. Always debubble. So we want to debubble good. Now this funnel that I'm using has the measurement on it, so I can see where a 1-inch head space is. I don't know if y'all can see that or not, but you can see the measurements it has the measurements on the funnel there. So I can see where a 1-inch head space is. I like to keep 2 jars here. That way I got a place to set my funnel whenever I get over. If you want to check your head space, it's right here, this end of your debubbler. If you got one like this, will also show you head space. This very bottom thing is 1 inch, and you should just be barely touching the top of your food when you put it there. Then we want to take white distilled vinegar. We're going to just dip us a paper towel in it. We're going to squeeze the excess vinegar out, and then we're going to wipe our jar good. Now our jars are clean. I ran them through the dishwasher. They have been checked around the rim to be sure there's not any chips or cracks in them. And then what we want to do is we want to get us a lid. We're going to center our lid on, and then we're going to get a band. We're going to get our band. We're going to go fingertip tight. And then we're going to take and we're going to set it in the canner. And that's what it looks like. We're going to put it in the canner over here. We'll set it down in the canner. Now I got 3 quarts of water in my canner because that's what my canner calls for. I'm using a 23-quart Presto canner. What we want to do now, we're just going to slide this jar over in that one's place. And I'm going to reach over here and I'm going to get another one out of the sink. Like I said, I got them in hot water here so that they're staying hot, because we want hot jars with hot product. I'm going to do another one here for y'all. Fill your jar about halfway full with solids. And then fill it the rest of the way with liquid. up to your 1-inch headspace. And headspace is very, very important when you're canning, because that's where it has been tested at to be safe. So if your recipe calls for a 1-inch headspace, you need to be extra sure that you're using 1-inch headspace. That don't mean 1.5 inches. It don't mean a 1/2 inch. You know what I mean? Because that will affect your canning, and a lot of times it won't seal properly. Always double check your headspace after you debubble, because as bubbles of air come out of there while you're debubbling, your headspace can drop. And so it's always best to check after you debubble. Just double check yourself on your headspace to be sure that it's accurate. And then wipe your rim with white vinegar. That's white distilled vinegar. Get you a lid. Center your lid. A band. Fingertip tight. And in the canner we're going to go. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish doing all this, the rest of them off camera. I just want to do a couple to show you how, but I'll bring you back once I get the camera full. Once I get the canner full. Now here's your tip. When you're pressure canning, the vinegar that you use to wipe your lids with, whatever you have left, just sort of pour it around inside your canner there with your water. And what that'll do, that'll keep your jars from getting cloudy on you. It'll help keep your jars from being cloudy. What I want to do now, we've checked our thing. I oiled my band. We checked our spout, be sure it's open. Checked our little hopper thing there to make sure it's working. We're just going to put our lid on here. Like I said, our canner's already warm. We're going to tighten it down all the way, and we're going to turn this up to just about high, between medium and high. And we're going to leave it there. And when we get a steady stream of steam coming out of our pipe here, we're going to set a timer for 10 minutes. We're going to let it blow for 10 minutes. Then we're going to put our weight on there, and we're going to let our pressure come up to, I can 12 pounds. You'll need to know your altitude and know what pressure you need to can at. But when it gets up to 12 pounds, then I'm going to start me a timer for 90 minutes, because we're doing quarts. 90 minutes. And we're going to can this for 90 minutes. Now, if at any point that pressure drops below that 12 pounds, I have to start my timer all over again when I get it back to 12. Now, it may come up to 13 pounds or 14 pounds. That's fine. You just don't want to let it get too high on you. But as long as it maintains 12 pounds of pressure through that 90 minutes, then we'll be good. And I'll bring you back at that point. But if you have any questions about what I'm saying here, you can go back and look at, I believe it was my Swedish meatballs that I did a step-by-step canning video on, and it'll show you exactly, step-by-step, how to pressure can. But we'll bring you back when we get our jars canned and ready to take them out of the canner. Okay, our canner's finished running there. And we've let the pressure come down to 0. I took the little weight off of the cockpit. Our deals dropped. I like to take and loosen my lid off and let it set for a couple minutes, just to sort of adapt to the air before I remove my stuff. But I'm going to set this over here out of the way. We're going to get our jar lifter here, and we're going to take our jars out. Now, what you always want to do when you take your jars out, you don't want to tilt them. You want to just come straight up out of your canner with them. Just straight up out of your canner and bring them over. And I'll show you one here. Let's see what they look like. You can see the corn in there. Now, I don't think I actually had about forgot my corn whenever I did the video, started doing it, and So I didn't get it on video adding the corn in, but I had to go back and put my corn in it. But you can see, and you can see they're still bubbling there. They're still, you can see the stuff moving around in them, and you can see the bubbles coming up there. So, you know, I mean, that's a good sign whenever you see that. But we want to just, like I said, pick your jars straight up out of your canner. You know, if there's a little bit of water on top of your jars, don't worry about that, because that's not going to do anything. You just want to bring it straight up out of your canner, so because you tilt it over. If you allow some of that, you know, you never know, some of that juice may get in under your jar there, in under your little seal, and then your jars may not seal like they're supposed to. It could prevent them from sealing. So just bring your jar straight up and out of the canner. And you want to always, you notice I've got this towel laying on top of my cabinet here, my island. You never want to put hot jars on just a cold surface or anything. You always want to have something. You hear that pop? That's a good sound for a canner, because that means your jar is sealed there. You want to hear them pop like that, so you can, you know, they've sealed up. But you want to leave a little space in between them where air can circulate around them, and then just take and set them aside, set them down. Always set them on something, and never never take and just set them down on that. And I'm going to give you a close up here of them. You can see what I'm talking about, how they're bubbling and stuff. They're still boiling. So now we got to let them sit here and completely cool. Now they'll sit here for about at least 12 to 24 hours, and probably till tomorrow. And then we'll remove the bands, and we'll once we get the bands off, then we can put them on our shelf to put them on the shelf in the pantry, where they'll be stable and ready to sit there until we're ready to eat them. So there you have it. That's south of the border chicken soup. If you would, give the video a thumbs up, like, share, comment, subscribe to our channel. We appreciate all of you that do. We appreciate all of you that take the time out of your day to watch our videos. South of the border chicken soup. We'll see you on the next one.